This is the final part of property taxes in the age of increasing property values. In the last two, we discussed how appraisal values are capped by the state at 10% growth a year. And on the taxing entity side, we discussed the effective tax rate. That would be the tax rate that the city would adopt to get the same revenue from the same properties as last year, but that it doesn't include new property taxes, new property tax revenue, or TERS revenue. Now we're on to the rollback tax rate, and that's simply the highest tax rate possible without an election to raise taxes. The effective rate plus 8% is the rollback rate. The rollback rate is very complicated to calculate, so that's why we're going to only talk specifically about non-ISDs, because the ISD has its own calculation, and we don't know enough about that right now to talk about. So simply on all other taxing entities, totaling the effective M&O rate plus 8% and the debt service rate gives the total rollback tax rate, and that is from the Comptroller of Texas. Down at the bottom, I have the debt service portion of their overall tax rate may rise as high as necessary without triggering the threat of a rollback election. So if someone asks, how are we going to pay off all of our bonds, that is not included in this. The rollback rate excludes, and again, it's very complicated. The rollback rate actually excludes a lot more than this, but I'm only going to talk about the basic things. It excludes new residential and commercial growth, same as the effective, and it excludes property taxes collected that go into the TERS 1 and 2, the same thing. The many exclusions and complications affecting the rollback rate are the reason why McKinney was able to raise 9.91% more in property taxes, even with the rollback rate cap of 8%. And this says it, this is their official wording that they had to do last year. In addition to publishing the tax rate, this budget will raise more total property taxes than last year's budget by 9.91%. That's the increase that the state, through Truth in Taxation, requires. To talk about McKinney ISD just for a second, they're required to publish their rollback rates as well. Here is notice of rollback rate, the highest tax rate the district can adopt before requiring voter approval, and that's 1.67, and we had that for a long time. Now they're going to be down to 1.62 this year, and the rollback rate is still the same. This is City of McKinney's revenue from the past 2 years, and I got both of these from the comprehensive annual financial report for each year, and they're on McKinney's website. If you look here from 2016, property taxes increased by $10.8 million as a result of a 13.9% increase in certified taxable values. Sales tax increased by $2.3 million, or 10%, as a result of population growth in the area. And I'm going to be doing something on the budget in a while, and this will talk about how the estimates that the city comes up with to shape the budget are not based in reality anymore. Here's an example, sales tax. Every year they put sales tax as being flat, that there'll be no increase in sales tax. So when they present the budget, they're telling us this is how much money we think we're going to bring in revenue. And here is what we need to spend. And so as you can see, there's no money left. Well, they're not including the 10% increase in sales tax alone. And that's how they end up spending way more money throughout the rest of the year, because they present a very, very, very conservative budget. And in the times we're in right now, we just really shouldn't be doing that, because then we're not accounting for a lot of extra money that maybe we could all know about and participate in the usage of it, instead of this coming up in budget amendments throughout the year. Here are our taxing entities again and what percentage they are of property taxes. So what does all of this look like in real terms? I have the goalposts here, the effective tax rate, the rollback rate, and then what we already have. This was from 2015, and at that time, the average value of a house was $270,000. So the effective tax rate would have been here, and that's how much the person owning a home like this in 2015 would have paid in taxes. And this is the highest it could go without an election, and that's how much a person would pay in taxes. This is how much they ended up paying in taxes because this is a rate they adopted in 2015. It's very close to the rollback rate, and big difference in how much you're paying for that. And you can say, okay, that's 100 something. Now remember, what they're paying, what this average homeowner is paying in city taxes does not include all the other taxes that they must pay. And this was from 2015. Here are this past year's numbers. 2016, on an average home value of, it is technically $299, but I just rounded it up to $300,000 because it makes it easier. Here is the tax rate that this homeowner paid, and this is the total taxes a person paid. Here's the rollback rate. Very close. Here's the effective tax rate. And here, in addition, is the total taxes. People sometimes just look at it in the little parts, but this is all of it put together. And we can talk about how it's only a $100 difference, but $100 can be the difference between being short on your escrow and having to increase your monthly mortgage payments every month to cover it. Now that we're going into budget time and tax rate time for this new year coming up, what would be a good compromise on the tax rate for 2017, knowing what we know now, that our city has been taking nearly the rollback amount for all of our new growth for at least the past 3 years, and that even with the rollback requirements of the state, the city is still taking in 9.91% more than it did the year before. That's even with that 8% rollback cap. Maybe we should start trying to rein that in a little bit and say, what's wrong with trying for the effective rate plus 4% instead of the full 8 or even more than that, when we know that our city is still going to collect more. And remember, this is just the property tax portion of city revenue. This doesn't include sales tax revenue. This doesn't include permits, any of the other ways that the city makes money. We're just talking about this one small portion. These are the websites that I used to learn about all these things, and I hope that you got a little better understanding than you had before about property values, about how tax rates are formulated and what truth in taxation rules are, and maybe next time when we get this tax rate, what the city wants to tax us at, you can see, okay, how much more are they getting than they got the year before, and do they need all that?